All right, welcome guys. Welcome back to Valley of the Lost, where we talk about murder and missing persons and some gruesome shit. So, again, we couldn't go camping because our car broke down. It's like an oil panel thingy. Yeah, so this was another story that we had planned for the Chiricahuas. And I don't know, have you guys ever heard of Paul Fugate? Paul Fugate? Yes. Do you know a lot?
Do you want me to say what I know? Or do you want me to hold off?
Say what you know, girl.
That he was a park ranger that went on the nature trail and then never came back.
That is absolutely correct.
Hey!
Absolutely correct. He is the only park ranger in, I said,
Oh, cheers.
I feel like I didn't say that at all in the last episode, and I think it's because you were telling the story. Now all of a sudden I'm telling the story, and it's like, So he's a U.S. park ranger who went missing in 1980, January 13th. He is the only park ranger to ever go missing and never be found. Like, not a single trace. Like, just not a remnant of clothing, not a drop of blood. Paul Fugate, the missing park ranger, episode, I think we're on 5 or 6. Episode 6.
That will be 7.
Paul Fugate, he went missing on January 13th, 1980. He was working as a park ranger in the Chiricahua National Monument in southeastern Arizona. There are several theories from the investigators, as per we discussed, and from online internet sleuths, which those get like kind of insane, but I felt like I wanted to include them. Yeah. We'll even hear from some psychic later on. I honestly, I like psychics. They're cool, but I don't fully trust them all the time, because I do feel like sometimes they come in and kind of fudge up investigations sometimes, like not the real psychics. Like, I do think there are people out there that
I see what you're saying,
are gifted. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So, and I don't know too much about this one. I just saw a small clip it, and honestly, yeah, we'll get there. Okay. I digress. He's never been found, and nobody can really say for sure. Like I was saying, there's tons of theories. Nobody can say for really sure what happened to him. He just simply vanished without a trace. One has to ask themselves as well, how does a park ranger go missing in the park that they are currently working in, while on the job?
Seriously.
So, and before we get into the whole who is Paul, when did Paul go missing, all of that, I want to talk a little bit just about I want to set the scene of the Chiricahua, the national monument. And there is a difference between the park, the mountains and the monument park. The monument park is only 16 to 18 miles wide. It's kind of actually really small, but in comparison to the mountain, it's a huge mountain. The park itself is pretty small.
So he was in the park section?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, on the nature trail, it's a really cute trail. I've actually been on it before. When I heard this story, it was after the fact, and I was like, what? That's a really cute little 1 mile trail. But all right, so the monument is part of a park system located within the Chiricahua Mountains. Like I was saying, they are connected as an isolated sky island more than 5,400 feet above the Sonoran Desert floor. It was established in 1924. The park was to protect the tall stone spires, also known as hoodoos. It's also to be the site of numerous battles in the Apache Wars with Native leaders like Cochise and Geronimo. The monument itself it's an 8-mile dead-end road with a single campground, and all there's multiple trail systems, but they can all be hiked within a day. So it's the monument isn't that big.
No, it's really small. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really small. Nicole, you've been there backpacking,
yeah.
It's beautiful, but it's not that big.
It's not. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that have gone missing in it.
Right. We'll definitely be doing more from that area. So he was born on September 2nd, 1938 in Brooklyn, New York. He was the oldest of 6 kids. When World War II broke out, his parents moved them to their hometown of Fort Worth, Texas. They lived in a small 2-bedroom house. As a teenager, Paul would grow Jurassic-sized castor bean plants in their backyard. He once actually he tamed a crow. Like he tamed a
What?
crow. Well, yeah, like and he trained it to like dive bomb his neighbor who would yeah, like he wasn't a very nice guy. Like they would get into it and yeah. Which
Oh my
again,
God.
like he seems like somebody that I would really honestly want to hang out with. His dad was a hard ass, right? His dad was a hard ass who rigidly enforced rules. And when I read that, like I kind of pictured Red from that 70s show. And I
Nice. Yes.
pictured like little hippie Paul, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what I imagined.
Okay. Cool.
And Paul never really understood like why his father was like that. Later on, Paul would actually stand up to his father, refusing to sign a loyalty oath in college and protesting the Vietnam War. Paul was a hippie, and I absolutely love it, and I'm here for it, and me too, man.
Love it.
Back from right, he sounds honestly like he seems like someone I would definitely want to hang out with. I don't know if I would have ever been like Paul, but and you'll see why later, but he seems like someone I would definitely want to hang out with and talk to. I think all of us would probably with all of like our love of nature, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Back from college in the summer 1962, Paul would meet his future wife, Dottie. Her legal birth name is Mary Ann. She was visiting his sisters, when she wandered into his dining room, and like lightning, she knew they were to be married.
Aww.
It must have, right? And it must have been his Buddy Holly glasses that he wore. He asked if she wanted to see his gun, and she's like, "Does Raggedy Ann have stuffed tits?" And he was like, she's like, "Hell yeah, it does." And she's like, "I do." But that's not really how it went. That's just like me in my head, because Paul had many interests, but a career and paying taxes were not on his radar. He ended up with a degree in biology from Arlington University. Paul and Dottie married on December 11th, 1964, so 2 years after they met. They were very much in love, and soon after he began his work as a park ranger in our national parks. He first worked at Carlsbad Cavern in New Mexico, then Arizona's Navajo National Monument. He continued to take a stand against the man at the Navajo Monument. It was Superintendent Jack Williams, who Paul nicknamed Smokey the Pig. And the disdain was mutual. In a letter, William chastised Paul for his laziness and appearance. He wrote, "If you want to look and live like a hippie, that is certainly your prerogative, but not here at Navajo National Monument." He was annoyed that he couldn't just fire Paul. William said, quote, "I do not understand the breed now coming into the National Park Service these days," end quote.
Oh wow.
This was right. This was all to the regional. This letter that he wrote was all to the regional director and got Paul transferred to the other park. Needless to say, he was not here for Paul's hippy dippy bullshit. I would have been though.
Well, I mean, you're a park ranger. Come on, man.
And if you have looked at pictures of Paul, he is like literally the stereotypical what you think of a park ranger. That's what he looked like.
Totally.
Right?
Down to the glasses. Down to the glasses.
The glasses, the hair, the tall, slender bod, like everything about him just is naturalist. Park ranger. Yeah. In 1970, Paul and Dottie came to the Chiricahua National Monument. Paul Fugate was an extreme naturalist. Like, yeah, right. I think I just said that. My notes. Come on. And spent his days answering visitor questions and curated exhibits. And he put together trail guides and plant lists, which I just think would be awesome. He was still a hippie and would smoke the ganja if the mood struck. He began to wear a Fu Manchu, or I had to look that up. It's a handlebar mustache. Which he was actually cited for, Nicole. They cited him for a violation.
Cited the park ranger?
Yep, for his appearance. And honestly, his handlebar like, come on, guys. Like, when are we going to stop, like citing people for letting them live?
I feel like that's gotta be, like, a thing for park rangers to have a mustache, right? Like, I mean, like,
right?
facial hair.
And the handlebar one just fits with, like, the era, you know? Like, it's the 70s. Come on. He wasn't working in porn. He was a park ranger.
Bro. And also, don't we just care that they're taking care of wherever they're whatever they're taking care of? Like, why are we
Well,
concerned with their appearance?
like the superintendent said, I don't know about this breed coming into the park service these days.
Oh, Lord.
Or whatever he said, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
It was just the war of the hippie, isn't it? Like, that's
Right.
just really what it is.
It really is. And his mustache really was like all the, like so much controversy in the park service. And then he was actually cited again and then fired less than a year later just for like his attitude. It sounds like somebody really had it out for him in the park service. Like that's what it kind of sounded like to me. And there's more to that as well. So like you'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, when he was fired, he began to work on his master's degree at the University of Arizona, and one of his botany classmates at U of A named a plant species in his honor after he went missing. It's a flowering desert perennial called Amsonia fugati.
Cool.
Which, yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Guys, I don't know if you guessed this by now. I'm a hippie, and I can't drink alcohol very well.
In case you're wondering.
just in case you were wondering. I have seen multiple different articles saying this was the time. So again, guys, he's still married. This was the time that his relationship began to evolve into an open marriage. Oh. I said open. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Paul had a few lovers that were known by his wife. It's said that she was fine with this as long as it was just physical and didn't become emotional. His first affair was with a Becky Orozco, a 19-year-old park aide. Then in 1978, he met another beauty who preferred to not be named in previous articles that I could find, and who was also about 20 years younger, who also worked at the park. Bro. And you'll see why she doesn't want to be named later. Like it will make sense. So come to January 13th, 1980. Oh yeah, and he got his job back as well. He actually ended up by working with a civil rights lawyer for wrongful termination. It took about 5 years, but he got his job back at the national park and was back at the Chiricahuas. Wow. So I know I said he was fired, but he came back. And so here we go. And January 13th, 1980, at about 2 p.m. on a Sunday, he was last seen stepping out of the Chiricahua National Monument Visitor Center to hike a trail. He was wearing the standard park uniform and carrying a green down parka. I'm going to do a trail, he announced to the aide, and that he wasn't going to be back until about 4:30 or 5, and if he wasn't back by about 4:30, just to lock up without him. Earlier in the day, he had dropped his lover off at a trailhead so she could hike back to the visitor center. She was actually staying with him in his cabin. But about 8 p.m., she notified Ted Scott, the monument superintendent. Scott got another ranger, and they began on foot looking for Paul. But sadly, he was never seen again. On January 14th, the Cochise County Sheriff's Office became involved, and the search team searched the monument area extensively but found no sign of him. But they also stopped at the monument's boundaries, so they didn't go any farther than just the National Monument Park, like the park. So that's a really small area to search, I feel like. I don't know. The Park Service initially suspected the worst and that foul play was involved and filed a report with local authorities. On January 14th, the Cochise County Sheriff's Office became involved with the search party. 22 people were on the ground, plus a dog. By the next day, the National Guard had a helicopter in the air looking for him, plus another 16 volunteers were stationed at the visitor center. On January 17th, I read somewhere that it actually began to snow. So that wouldn't be good. There's not really much more that was said about that, but just that there was snow. So, I mean, and again, it's January in the Chiricahuas. It does get... We were going to go there for April, and it was going to be like in the low 30s.
Yeah.
So it definitely gets cold there. And then days go by, and about 5 days later, there was a solid lead that came in from a Dick and Joy Horton, who happened to be an acquaintance of Paul. So a friend, right?
Yeah.
He had described seeing him the day he went missing. He saw him in his uniform, slumped between two men in a pickup truck. Dick went under hypnosis and was able to describe the truck and Paul's state. He recalled that he looked sad and dejected. The pickup was dark green with a camper shell. The driver was a man in his 30s with a Kenny Rogers beard. He wore a black, white, and red plaid shirt, and the second man had on a green jacket, possibly Paul's own Ranger parka. Jack Davis, director of the Park Service Western Region, dismissed this, but others that were in the monument that day recall seeing a similar vehicle spin out tracks on a dirt road near the Fairway Ranch and had signs of a scuffle.
Ooh.
Which a search of his cabin showed that he left his wallet with $300 cash money in it and a very valuable gun collection and some pricey camera equipment. So
yeah, he wasn't planning on going missing.
I mean, to me, it sounds like I would plan to come back to that. I don't know about anybody else, but
Yeah.
On the other hand, it also seems like it could be a good way to throw people off.
Touche.
There's so many theories. There were rumors that, like, right here, there were rumors that he ran off to start a new life with his pregnant girlfriend, his lover, who was actually with child. But
really?
later, but later the pregnancy was terminated. That was after he went missing. I'm pretty sure that's why she didn't want to be named. Yeah, she didn't want her name out there, and honestly, I don't really blame her.
Yeah, for real.
His wife Dottie, who was residing in Tucson, and she worked as a science photographer at U of A, she arrived at the park 4 days after he went missing. She said that local authorities had her remain in her home just in case it was a ransom, and they called her. But I couldn't find anything from the authorities like confirming that or anything like that.
Why would they think that was a...
So and so now I'm going to open it up to some theories for you and I about what possibly happened in 1983, somebody claimed to have seen him in Bend, Oregon. However, this did not pan out. It wasn't him. That July, Cochise County Sheriff's Office actually said that Paul Fugate was murdered and that the arrest of more than one person was imminent, and the case is still open today. And in 2018, the reward has gone up to $60,000 for any information, like good information, leading to Paul's disappearance. And I feel like that's like a decent amount of money for somebody who went missing in 1980. That's like 42 years ago. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So what do you think happened, Nicole? Before I tell you my theories, I want to know what you think happened.
Gosh. Well, if he died if he had a massive heart attack, or even if he got jumped and got beat up, they would have found him on the trail. So it's definitely a possibility that he seemed like kind of like a saucy kind of guy. So, maybe he was like feeling saucy in the woods and came across those people, and him being the park ranger, was like, hey buddy, don't be messing up my forest. And they were
That's how his dad raised him. Like, that is right on. Like, I'm right there with you on that. Like,
yeah,
because I feel like that's how his dad kind of raised him. That was his family's mantra growing up, kind of, was not to take shit. Yeah, and follow the rules. And like, and at his park, I feel like he would be like, that's my home. That's my turf. You know what I mean?
I think he would defend it. So that's probably my theory, and that his body just hasn't been found. Or maybe he was just like dumped somewhere, and being the kind of guy that he is, just started a new life and said, well, I don't really want to go back to that, and just started a new life. I don't know. To me, it just always seems so insane when people go missing, and even if they are deceased, that like their bodies are never found. Like, to me, that just does not. I cannot comprehend that.
It doesn't make any sense. It does. I have like 6 different theories that are all out there on the internet, guys. Like, okay, it's crazy.
What is it?
It's so nuts.
I mean, and then there's aliens too.
I completely agree with you, Nicole. I think that he walked up on something that he shouldn't have seen. That's truly what I believe, but I mean, I've got more.
Okay, let's hear this.
So theory one, Paul walked into a situation he shouldn't have seen. This area is known to be a hot area for drug and human trafficking. The trail he went on, I believe, was the nature trail, which is one that we had taken. We already talked about that. We wanted to see the Fairway Ranch, and spoiler alert, it's creepy. It's really creepy. It's really cool, but it definitely has its own vibe to it.
Okay.
And did he maybe see something there? There's everything kind of on this theory, it all kind of comes back to the fairway.
Okay.
That's where those tracks, that scuffle was said to have happened. Where they saw the car pull out, it was at the fairway. So did he see something? Were those two men he was slumped between? Did they murder him? I also have to bring up the friend that saw him in the truck. Like, I feel like, why would it take you 5 days to like report that about your friend? Like, an acquaintance is a friend, right? Like,
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna throw that out there real quick. But in 2014, there was an incident, and this is a side note, I just want to bring this up. There was another park employee. Her name was Karen Gonzalez. She was brutally assaulted and nearly killed at the Fairway Ranch. Okay. So lots of crazy ass shit. It's bad juju. Lots of crazy ass. I'm not saying that's why that happened, but just lots of bad shit I feel like happens there.
It's a hot spot. Yeah.
It's a hot spot for it had a vibe. A psychic that Dottie had actually brought in on her own had a vision of two men standing over a woman's drugged, unconscious body and had seen Paul witnessing it.
Oh.
And in this vision, the men subdued him, shoved drugs down his throat, and threw his body somewhere across the Mexico border. And again, not all psychics are trustworthy, good people. And especially at this time, I feel like that was kind of the daytime television you know what I mean? Like, that was kind of like what was on TV. Like, it was all about psychics and things like that. And it was new and new age and all of which is a lot of people in the Southwest. But
yeah.
That's what the time, right? Yeah. But I feel like this would have really have upset his wife a lot. So if that was what happened, hopefully maybe we can figure that out and bring some people to justice.
Yeah, man.
And give his wife some peace. I don't know. An article I read basically said that it seems like Dottie's still waiting for him to come home. Like, come home to return to her. Yeah, and they really did have a cute, there is some theories, you'll see. But it does seem like they had a really good relationship. One that's like they seemed like they had relationship goals, but you know, it's not always the case, right? So in theory 2, he ran off to start a new life.
Okay.
Over the years, many rumors have surfaced of people saying that they saw him, but none have actually panned out to be Paul. They were all false leads. Many say that he may have ran off with his girlfriend who was pregnant. And the Park Service ended up by actually saying a year later, in 1981, that he was fired for abandoning his post, which is funny because he actually went missing in 1980.
Yeah,
so what? Right. So, and then this comes back to kind of what I was saying about someone at the Park Service really must have had it in for him. Like, he must have rubbed some people the wrong way because, dang. Yeah. That's crazy. They had been paying his wife since he went missing, his salary.
That's good.
And they ended up by actually asking for it back with 11% interest.
What?
Yeah. She had a certain time within it being in effect, but they retrodated it to the day he went missing. And it was done a year later. So there was no way. Right.
I mean, okay, fine, ask for your money back, but damn, 11% interest? Why?
Right.
And it was like the
And
80s. That was like high time. People had money back then.
yeah, and
The Forest had money
not a
back
good
then.
look for the government. Not a good look for
Right?
the government at all. And again, like, so somebody really must have had it out for Paul.
Damn, he pissed off the wrong
And
person.
right, and I feel like that could also like bring up so many like theories in that in and of itself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Totally.
just from him being fired, the whole thing with the handlebar mustache, the letter with his previous superintendent at the other park, like
Yeah.
he just had a lot of issues with the National Park Service.
Jeez.
But he seems like he would have been like the best employee at the same time. Like he seemed super dedicated. He made plant lists and like
Yeah, I did the things.
right. So and now I'm going to come now to oh yeah. So just to add on to all of that, like he probably didn't run off to start a new life. Again, he had the $300, his ID, his camera equipment, his guns, and we all know that he loves his guns. That was the first thing he ever said to Dottie. I really don't think that he ran off and started a new life.
I don't think so either.
That's not so. In theory 3, did the wife do it? The wife always does it. The husband always does it. The wife always does it, right?
Okay.
So she didn't show up, like I said previously, 4 days until after he was missing.
Okay.
Nobody in the sheriff's department was ever like nobody corroborated. No one ever said like, yeah, we asked her to stay there because of the ransom. He was a park ranger. He didn't have a lot of money. Chances are he wasn't being held ransom. So I don't know how I feel about, and maybe they did. Like, you know, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm only reporting what I have read.
Yeah.
So I'm only telling the story. I know what I think from what I've read. So did the wife do it? She didn't show up for 4 days. Her home was never searched. She was never asked for an alibi. And Paul never actually told her that his girlfriend was pregnant.
Oof.
And you would think like what she had said earlier, being okay, being in an open marriage, that she'd be okay with that because like as long as it's not emotional, like you know what I mean, like
right.
That I feel like that was for her, and he never told her about that. So that like that to me is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, and supposedly the psychic said, right, that there was like a woman over her, like woman strangled or something like that. So what if the wife like played coy with these two, like worked with these two other guys?
You'll see.
Okay.
I mean, there's an opening really honestly for multiple different, but there was a woman's body. So I don't know. But anyways, okay. She said that Dottie had once said about her husband that they were so close that they would actually finish each other's sentences. But again, why wouldn't he have told Bonnie about the pregnancy? Or why wouldn't he have told Dottie about the pregnancy? If, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no.
Paul's sister claims that his wife did not approve of the open marriage and was actually super embarrassed by it. Which that was a new thing that I had read today.
Okay.
This was a whole rabbit hole that I went down today, by the way.
Love it.
Yes, this was not in my original story. This is all from some internet sleuth, the article that I read. There's also rumors that with a suspicious land deal that occurred after Paul disappeared that was tied to a man and his boss who worked at Auto World in Tucson. He had told, there's so much to this, and I tried to sum it up the best I could. So bear with me here.
Yeah.
He told people that he had been up where the great Apache chief Cochise was buried and shot a police officer or border patrol agent. I guess someone with a badge. And I ask you, was that Paul? Emmanuel, an investigator, went by the auto shop and he met the owner, Youngquist. I don't think I'm saying that right. But he immediately asked Emmanuel, the investigator, how Dottie was doing, which rubbed him the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Then Youngquist says, quote, "Missing persons are sure hard to work," end quote. Then the investigator was ran out of the auto yard. This did not sit well with the investigators, obviously. The property mentioned was a 40-acre parcel purchased by the Youngquist business partner and then was sold 2 years later. And there have been reports that perhaps his wife, Dottie, was somehow involved with this business deal.
Interesting.
So, again, there's a lot more to it, but it kind of ties the four people actually all in together. And just with that being said, what I envision, it's a full-on movie. It's unreal to me. It could be a movie, and I don't think it's real, but this is what I see based off of that article. In my head, I see a dumb employee, owner of an auto shop, and a woman who has been scorned and who is upset by her husband's digressions. Mm-hmm. Right? So I see, I don't know what was with that land deal, but maybe there's money somehow involved, and she maybe asked them to kill her husband, and he had his employee do it who had no idea what he was doing. A movie, right? That's exactly.
Yeah.
It's such a movie, right?
Why doesn't that exist?
Let's write a movie.
Right?
I like theory 1 the most. Theory 5. We're on theory 4. We're not even there yet. That's how many theories. And there's some that I didn't even write down. Wow. Come on. It's insane. So theory 4, the elements. Was it the train? Did he get injured somewhere, somehow on the park?
Yeah.
Did he die from an animal or exposure? It gets so cold there in January.
Absolutely.
It snows. It snowed 4 days after he went missing. Could he have fallen down a mine shaft?
Oh, that's a possibility too.
Right. I saw one random ass report online. I'm not even sure if you can validate this report. That's how random it was. It was on a Facebook post thread thingy. That he died while hand feeding a mountain lion.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
But to that, I do say he did tame a crow.
Touche.
He did tame a crow. So I'll throw that back in there. But come on. Theory 5, Nicole, aliens. Did something supernatural happen?
Yes.
We got to say it, right? On this podcast, we've got to acknowledge the fact that the truth is out there, guys.
I mean, those rocks are freaky, man. Those rocks are freaky.
Those rocks are super freaky. Those hoodoos.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying
they're nuts. Did something supernatural happen? And again, we're going to say it. We live in a desert. Was it a portal, a wormhole to another timeline, to another universe? Oh, man. And again, I don't know how much merit that's going to have in this instance with what we have. But, I mean, it's worth considering. The truth is out there.
Right.
Mulder from X-Files is hot. The truth is out there. As of today, this case is still open. He is still considered a missing persons, and due to zero evidence found, it's hard to say. It's hard. His wife can't even believe that he's dead. But he would be about 80 now. So I mean, I don't know. Did he go start a new life? Did he?
Here's the thing.
Die?
Here's something that I was thinking about though. They hired the employee theory. If they weren't professionals, wouldn't they have left something at the scene? Blood, a shoe print?
Well, he was going boasting about at a bar, I shot a law enforcement official, blah 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 blah. running his mouth. And then I guess he's living somewhere in the Midwest now, and he was tracked down in this article. And the guy ended up by saying that, like, I'm just a bullshitter. Da, 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 da. That's just what, reading that story, that's just kind of where my mind went, was that's the only way that I feel like you could actually tie in his wife. Does that make sense? Like, to that, which is what I feel like the article was trying to do. So that's why I was kind of like, I was trying to envision it in my head. And maybe I'm a romantic, but I don't think that she had anything to do with this. I really do think that he witnessed something that he shouldn't have seen, or maybe he wasn't involved with some drug smuggling.
Oh,
it doesn't make him a horrible person.
No.
I mean, not if he was. I mean, obviously, like, don't hurt anybody. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe he was involved with the wrong people, and maybe he was trying to be like, don't do that to that person. To me, it just sounds like, with it being so close to the border, and that area was just opening up for human trafficking, I really think that he walked up on something he shouldn't have seen.
Yeah.
Or been a part of, or tried to stop something. Which...
It had to be professionals, because to not have any thing left over, how do you do that? Even if you shoot somebody, there's got to be a bullet.
He was taken across the border, I think, or buried or left somewhere else, because again, the only place that was searched was the monument.
Okay.
Which is like only 16 to 18 miles long. Like, it's not it's not huge. It just has that 8-mile like one-way road in, two-way road in to the actual, like, the visitor center area. It's really small.
It's so small.
I don't know why they didn't. Yeah, I don't know why, especially if they had helicopter and stuff like that. Like, I don't know why they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And, like, I listened to a podcast too talking about this, Locations Unknown. I don't know if you would really like this podcast, Nicole. It's really good. The guys that do it are really good. I like it.
Was that the comedians?
No, that's another one that I really like. Small Town Murder.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Nice.
But this one it's mostly about people who go missing in our national parks.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think you'd really dig it. And I like how they always give a little information too on the national park, like, before they go into the episode.
Nice.
Just because, again, like, you and I really like going camping and going outdoors, and you and I are always kind of, we gravitate towards these cases, you know.
Yeah.
That you'd like it.
Yeah,
like the little info that it gives. They talk about, like, their backpacking trips and stuff like that they do in the national parks. It's good.
Fun.
But yeah, that's
Paul, huh?
That's Paul Fugate. Yeah. I think he's part of, like, the Missing 411. If you've ever heard of that. Yeah. That's where I first heard about this case, actually, was an episode that kind of, like, highlighted some Missing 411 cases. And again, it's because he vanished without a trace. No one knows where he's at.
Damn.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Well, guys, I think that's all we got for you tonight.
Woohoo! Let's get lost.
Get lost.
Dang. I just wanted to come on here and say thank you so much for listening to our episodes. And if you have a chance, if you could just rate us and review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you stream your podcast. And don't forget, you can get us in your real-time reactions and watch our episodes on YouTube. So if you ever want to just see our faces, come give us a looky look. All right, guys, thanks so much. Bye.